Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. You've undoubtedly noticed the similarities between indigenous peoples and those from Asia, particularly East Asia. The facial and physical resemblances between Native Americans and Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Indonesian, and Filipino people are striking and intriguing. But where do these remarkable similarities come from? Thanks to technological advancements and studies in human genetics, we've been able to uncover the fascinating origins of indigenous peoples, a mystery that has intrigued humanity for centuries. In this video, we will delve into the genetics of these peoples, revealing their ancestral connections and surprising origins. Discover how ancient migrations shaped the physical traits we see today and how these connections help us better understand human history. Prepare for an exciting journey through time and genetics as we uncover hidden secrets in our own cells. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about the intriguing history of indigenous peoples and their surprising connections with Asians. The hidden Asian roots of indigenous people. The indigenous peoples of the Americas, both North and South, form a complex mosaic of cultures, languages, and histories dating back thousands of years before Europeans arrived on the continent. These peoples have a deep connection to their ancestral lands and have developed sophisticated and diverse societies over the centuries. In North America, indigenous peoples include a wide range of cultures and nations. Among them are the Inuit, who inhabit the Arctic regions of Canada and Alaska, adapted to the extreme environment with unique hunting and fishing skills. In the Pacific Northwest, nations such as the Haida and Tlingit are known for their elaborate totem poles and ceremonial artifacts. The Midwest is home to the Great Plains, where peoples like the Sioux and Cheyenne developed cultures based on bison hunting and a nomadic lifestyle. In eastern North America, the forest peoples, such as the Iroquois and Algonquians, established complex trade networks and political systems, like the Iroquois Confederacy, which influenced the development of Western democratic societies. The southeastern region is known for the Mississippians, who built large ceremonial mounds and lived in major urban centers like Cahokia. In South America, indigenous societies are equally diverse. In the Andean region, the Incas established an extensive and advanced empire, renowned for their innovations in engineering, architecture, and agriculture, such as the famous terraces and the city of Machu Picchu. The Amazonian peoples, like the Yanomami and Kayapo, live in one of the planet's greatest biodiversity hotspots, with cultures deeply integrated into the tropical rainforest environment. In the southern part of the continent, the Mapuche of what is now Chile and Argentina have a rich tradition of resistance and struggle for their territorial rights. The Guarani, inhabiting areas of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina, are known for their vibrant language and culture, which strongly influences the region. Indigenous peoples of the Americas have faced significant challenges since contact with Europeans, including colonization, land loss, and attempts at cultural assimilation. However, they continue to play a vital role in preserving and promoting their cultures and traditions. Today, there is a growing recognition of the importance of respecting and supporting indigenous rights, acknowledging their indispensable contributions to the rich cultural tapestry of the Americas. Over the centuries, many people have speculated about the origins of indigenous peoples and often wondered where they came from. Indigenous peoples were present in the Americas long before the arrival of Portuguese and Spanish colonizers. A curious fact is that there has always been speculation about a relationship between indigenous peoples and those from extreme Asia, due to their appearance. The appearance of indigenous peoples, such as their epicanthic folds and very straight hair, closely resembles that of extreme Asian peoples. But beyond the physical traits shared between indigenous peoples and extreme Asians, such as the Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans, are there more similarities between these peoples? The truth is, yes, there are similarities that go beyond physical appearance. For example, there are linguistic similarities. You might have heard about the Japanese language, used by the Japanese to communicate since ancient times. Here's an interesting curiosity: there are significant similarities between Japanese and the Tupi-Guarani language spoken by indigenous peoples. Tupi-Guarani is a group of indigenous languages from the Tupi family, spoken primarily in Brazil and parts of Paraguay, Argentina, and Bolivia. This linguistic group includes various languages and dialects, with Guarani and Tupi, or Tupinamba, being the most well-known. Tupi-Guarani is one of many indigenous languages. There are diverse indigenous languages associated with various tribes. For those who may not know, Tupi-Guarani is one of the most important linguistic families in South America, encompassing several indigenous languages spoken by various tribes in Brazil and even being an official language in Paraguay. In addition to Tupi-Guarani, there are other indigenous linguistic families, such as the Caribbean language family, which is also well known. There are several words of Tupi-Guarani origin that have equivalents in Japanese, being almost the same words. For example, in Tupi-Guarani, storm is arasi, while in Japanese it is arashur. The similarity between arashur and arasi is notable. Another word in Japanese that has an equivalent in Tupi-Guarani is the word for sweet or something sweet. In Japanese, it is kashi, and in Tupi-Guarani, it is kaksi. Both words are almost identical. The word for snap in Japanese is tataku, and in Tupi-Guarani, it is tataka. Again, there is very little difference between the two. And the word hectic in Japanese is arai, while in Tupi-Guarani it is arae. Once more, the words are quite similar, suggesting a possible common origin. These are some Japanese words that have equivalents in Tupi-Guarani, with virtually the same pronunciation and nearly identical terms. Despite the many linguistic differences between Tupi-Guarani and Japanese, these similarities are striking. In addition to these linguistic similarities, which suggest a possible common origin, we can also observe other resemblances between indigenous peoples and Japanese people. A perhaps peculiar feature shared by Japanese and indigenous peoples is an ancient form of traditional combat. Extreme Asian countries are well known for their varied martial arts and ancient forms of self-defense. Interestingly, there exists a traditional Japanese fighting style and an indigenous fighting style that have quite similar names and combat movements. For example, the indigenous fighting style called hooka hooka is very similar to ancient Japanese sumo and judo, both traditional martial arts from the Far East. This similarity in combat styles may indicate cultural influences or common patterns in the development of self-defense techniques. The fact is that several Tupi-Guarani language families have notable similarities with the Japanese language. Words like wall, rain, restless, and flowers are pronounced almost identically in both Tupi-Guarani and Japanese. The similarity is not limited to pronunciation. Tupi-Guarani and Japanese also share very similar words with identical or quite similar meanings. Moreover, it is not just the words that resemble each other, even some physical characteristics of ancient Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans are similar to those of indigenous peoples. In my opinion, the East Asian peoples who most resemble indigenous Americans are, for example, Indonesians and Filipinos, especially in terms of physical appearance. To me, they have an almost identical resemblance to indigenous peoples of the Americas. The genetics of Asian peoples and indigenous peoples of the Americas reveal some notable similarities. Both current Asians and indigenous peoples of the Americas are descendants of ancient Chinese, sharing a common genetic heritage. Genetic studies, including an analysis conducted in 2003 of a leg bone found in a cave in Tianyuan, China, showed that the early inhabitants of ancient Beijing had very similar genetics to contemporary indigenous peoples. This suggests that indigenous peoples and Chinese are genetic siblings, possessing the same heritage and even a common ethnicity. Various research and genetic studies corroborate this relationship. These studies seek to understand the origins of indigenous peoples, and the DNA of various indigenous tribes from both North and South America has been analyzed. The studies revealed that all founding paternal lineages of Asian descendants gave rise to all pre-Columbian peoples of the Americas, that is, all indigenous American peoples. This was the main conclusion of a study conducted by a group of researchers from Brazil, the United Kingdom, Germany, Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia, led by the Biodiversity and Molecular Evolution Laboratory at the Federal University of Minas Gerais. Besides this study, there are various others that also corroborate the Asian origin of indigenous peoples, confirming the connection with Asian peoples. I hope you enjoyed the video where I discussed the linguistic and cultural similarities between some Asian peoples and indigenous peoples, as well as the genetic evidence demonstrating this kinship. The origin of indigenous peoples is indeed in Asia. For those who don't know, both Chinese and indigenous peoples descend from Sin and Tagarma, great-grandchildren of Noah. May God bless you all, and see you soon.